The first round of the NHL playoffs has officially hit do or die for some teams. We got fans flipping off players, guys cross-checking each other in the head. The greatest player on the planet is on the verge of elimination. We got overtime games left, right, and center, and potentially we might be witnessing the end of an era and something that we may never see again in the NHL playoffs. Round one is starting to peak, so let's break it all down in part 5 of our round 1 recap. We start with Game 5 between the Penguins and the Flyers. Philly is still in the driver's seat up 3-1 in this series, but they're making a subtle change and maybe a controversial one as Coach Rick Tocchet decides to scratch Matvei Michkov. Yes, the relationship between the player and the coach has been a divisive one throughout the year between them and the fan base, and this may stir the pot even more. Now, first minutes of the game, look at the mind games from Evgeny Malkin. Malkin in the middle chips the puck right into Philly's bench, and they don't like that one bit. But the Penguins, they came out to play. One thing that was missing from Pittsburgh's game in the first 3 meetings against Philly was their forecheck. They were one of the best forechecking teams in the league in the regular season, and they get back to that off the bat here. Anthony Mantha, F1, comes roaring in, throws the body, gets possession, centers it out in front to Soderblom, who gets on the board first. First shot, first goal. Penguins carry that 1-0 lead into the second, where again, it is their forecheck that creates problems. Watch Crosby as the F3 here. His positioning coming off the bench is perfect because it cuts off the middle control entry breakout play to Zegras, making the only option basically a backhand flip or a hard out off the boards to try and get past Sid. Good back pressure from this Penguins forward is going to force the Philly D to rush his play, so he flubs the flip. Crosby turns into prime Vernon Wells, catches that right out of the air, gives it to Dewar, who's shooting freaking laser beams. Shout out Dr. Evil. 2-0 Penguins, and that right there is a tiny example of how Sid is still controlling the game at 38 years old. Philly, though, they have a response. 6 seconds later, Alex Bump, yeah, that's a real name, gets one back, and then Travis Sanheim, who's having a monster series, ties it later in the second as Philly has some pushback. But then the hockey gods sprinkle a little lady luck on Pittsburgh. Letang goes with the clapper. It goes wide off the boards, bounces off of Darth Vladar and in, and then maybe the scariest sight for Philly fans everywhere is looking at the level of dialed Sidney Crosby is in on the bench. Just look at that. That look alone should strike the fear of God into Philly as the Penguins do a good job of hanging on to that 3-2 lead to stay alive and now go into Philly with a chance to make this series go the distance. The Penguins are defending a lot better, and they're giving Philly a taste of their own medicine as they themselves are running a 1-1-3 in the neutral zone to shut down some of Philly's offense on the transition. This has officially become a battle of the trap. Now, as for the pressure of this series, it now rests squarely on the shoulders of Philadelphia, a young team going back home on the verge of blowing a 3-0 series lead. The nerves will be there, and even Coach Rick Tocchet acknowledged that those nerves seemed evident in Game 5. As for Game 6, the first goal will be imperative for Philly to calm those nerves and get back to playing their game. That being said, Sidney Crosby is going back to Philly, and he's been on a mission. 4 points in his last 2 games. Leading by example, we're in for a finish, ladies and gentlemen. Then we go to Game 4 between Vegas and Utah. Carter Hart's neck is sunburnt after getting lit up in Game 3, but Torts sticks with his guy for Game 4, and he must have threatened a bag skate here because they came out ready to play as they were shot out of a cannon. A minute and 16 in, Pavel Dorofeev on the doorstep where he belongs makes it 1-0, and it was all Vegas in the first as they scored shorthanded and then added in another at the beginning of the second to make this a 3-0 game. It looks like it's going to be a blowout, but no one can hold on to a damn lead tonight. Utah gets one, then adds another 20 seconds apart. The building is cooking. Utah is a hockey state. And then Carcone sounds like he can be an extra in The Sopranos. Turns out he's a Canadian hockey player from Ajax, Ontario. He gets the third one. Utah has 3 unanswered. Torts must be fuming. And the bleeding doesn't stop there as Keller logs in with his first of the series to give Utah a 4-3 lead. 4 straight goals just when it seems like the speed of Utah is overwhelming Vegas. They answer right back with Howden again double dipping the chip to make it a 4-4 game. This one needs OT, where for the second night in a row we get some drama. Vegas appears to score the game-winning goal, but hold on a second. Give Gary a call. Get a camera on that blue line because upon replay, it looks like Jack Eichel was slightly too horned up to enter the zone. He is offside at the line. They call back the goal, but the puck simply does not lie. Minute left in OT. Vejmelka loses his stick. It is panic at the disco for Utah. Everyone collapses to try and protect the house, but in comes Theodore with that cannon, and he says says start the car, get us back to Vegas, because this one is all tied up. What an electric game and series, as this is now dead even at 2s going back to Vegas.
Now, before we continue, today's video is sponsored by Aura Frames. Aura Frames is the Wi-Fi connected digital photo frame for your photos and videos. Listen, we take thousands of photos and videos these days on our phones and then never look at them again because they get lost in our camera roll. They never actually make it into our lives, but with Aura Frames, we got one in our condo right when you walk into the place. And through the Aura app, my fiance and I have loaded a ton of photos onto each frame. You get unlimited storage and the photo cycle all day long. If you're an Oilers fan, you can sneak in this masterpiece on there. I love it because my personal camera roll is just filled with hockey clips for work, obviously, and all my personal memories would just get lost in the shuffle. But now with Aura Frames, I can see it in my everyday life when I just look over or walk into my house. The best part is it's a home run as a gift too. I was son of the year when I picked up this bad boy for Mother's Day last year for my mom. We've been on a ton of family vacations too, and we use the app to actually upload and share photos as a family right into our frames, which is incredible. So if you want to grab an Aura frame for a family member, friend, or yourself, use the code HOCKEY to get a deal on their Carver frame. Terms and conditions apply, but if you want a fantastic deal for Mother's Day, I'd highly recommend checking it out.
Then we go to Game 5 between Boston and Buffalo. The Sabres are back at home and have a chance to close out this series. It's been about a week and a half in the city of Buffalo, and they're still not sober. It's amazing to see. The vibes are truly off the charts, and a good reason why is the Blade Gang themselves. These guys went from beating the shit out of a Cam Neely dummy while being 15 beers deep to now being in Key Bank Arena banging the damn drum. Buffalo is ready to rock, and early on they get a power play which has struggled mightily in this series, but it all starts here with the entry. Thompson, wide frame, carves through. He does a good job at exposing the gap by attacking the line laterally. And then what proceeds is kind of an unfortunate play here for Boston. They're in decent structure to block this first pass, and they do, but it comes right back out to Zucker, who centers it out in front again as the seas part, and who's there all alone? Marco Polo himself, Rasmus Dahlin. You can't give a good player a bad pass. This one is tight to the body. He shifts his feet to get all of it, and it's the captain that sets Buffalo on fire early on. That is their first power play goal in the month of April. That's an insane stat. It's amazing they're up in this series with that kind of stat anyways. But Boston had a couple good chances, but the Lion King himself, Alex Lyon, comes up huge to keep this 1-0 Buffalo at the end of one. But in the second, Boston just gets to work. They win a couple key battles down low below the goal line. It causes a fire drill in front of Buffalo's net, and it's Elias Lindholm tying the game up. That's how Boston has to play in this series. They're not going to outskill Buffalo, but they can outwill them, and it ties the game there at 1. This one would eventually go to OT, where we see it's a game of inches. Now in overtime, both teams have the long change because they switch sides, so you have to be extremely careful with your line changes. Here, Buffalo does a fantastic job at recognizing the line change of Boston, so they go for the quick up, and Krebs, all he's got to do is just throw an area pass here. He's got McLeod home alone like Kevin McAllister, but credit to Boston just closing off this gap as quick as possible. They create a turnover inside the blue line, and who's bursting the other way? It's David Pastrnak. Look at this finish, selling potential backhand, and then peek the edge work. He slams on that outside edge to go back to his forehand, and just like that, we're going back to Boston. Pasta is absolutely giving it to the Sabres fan in the front row too as he flips him the bird. That is hockey, baby, and the party is spoiled in Buffalo as Pasta comes up clutch to keep the Bruins season alive. So then we go to Game 5 between the Dallas Stars and the Minnesota Wild. This series is airtight. Minnesota took last game in OT thanks to Matt Boldy, and the Wild get back some reinforcements too. Back in the lineup is Mats the Rat Zuccarello, and more than anything, I think his presence helps out Kaprizov the most, as their chemistry is among the best in the league. Now early on, Dallas tries to stretch out Minnesota here on this breakout with their wingers off screen. You see both Wild players in Kaprizov and Zuccarello just with good positioning here on the forecheck. Zuccarello is going to take away his close support option, while Kaprizov is going to flush him out on that other side behind the net. That forces Dallas to just have to act quickly on the strong side, and in the perfect spot is Hartman as the F3. He intercepts the stretch pass, plays it straight to the net. Kaprizov, 2 whacks, it goes to Zuccarello, and it's 1-0 Minnesota. Shocker, though, is that their penalty kill fails to do the job yet again. Dallas has pretty much exposed Minnesota in every way on the power play this series, whether it's down low, when they're set up, or on the entry. They've had no answer, and so even when Dallas takes away all the threats on the flank and down low, they still have the threat at the point with Miro Heiskanen. He wires one past Wallstad. It is a tie game. So now Minnesota says we need a response from our power play ourselves. And for a brief second, it is Matt Boldy. Boldy Hahn doing everything in this series. He scored on the peeper, but no, wait. Call Gary. He looks like he shoves Ottinger's pad in the crease, which you can't do. So this one's coming back. But here's the thing with Boldy right now. He's a man on the mission. He's the king of scoring a goal, having it called off, and then coming back and doing it all over again. The Wild get another power play. Boldy steps in, and look at this shot. He uses Lindell as a screen, a quick little snapper, blocker side post Malone, and in 2-1 Wild. And then Mikey McCarron, scholar at the School of Ovi all of a sudden. He's having a solid series. He works his way in, reminds Ottinger to close his damn legs, and that was the dagger, as the Wild's 5-on-5 defense was incredible in this game. There was some nasty stuff too. Jamie Benn and Ryan Hartman got into it, and Ben just delivers a cross check right to the neck of Hartman. That looks familiar. He's done that one before against Vegas, and it earned him a suspension. If he's out and Dallas is missing their captain in a do or die game, that is huge. Overall, though, Minnesota has been the better team when 5-on-5 this series. They've outscored the Stars 11-3 in that area. If they can just stay out of the box, Minnesota can win their first playoff series since 2015. And now we go into Game 5 between the Oilers and the Ducks. I don't think anyone expected this heading into the series, but the Ducks have a commanding 3-1 series lead. They've played incredibly well, and the most concerning part for Oilers fans is that Connor McDavid was a game-time decision. Everyone knows he's hurt, but I think this was more mind games than anything. There was no way he was sitting out of a potential elimination game on home ice. This guy's leg would have to be falling off for that to happen, and that wasn't the case. He's playing in this one. The other big news, though, is that Edmonton is going back to Connor Ingram instead of Shanghai Jari. Jari played decent in Game 4, but the Oilers believe Ingram is their guy, so they give him the nod in this one. Now, with backs against the wall, how do the Oilers respond? Well, how about this from Evan Bouchard? Activates up in the play, and the best part of his game is his poise. He gains the line and then stops up to create a gap advantage for himself, slows things down, and then look at this sauce right to Pod Colson. Australia makes it 1-0 Oilers. Zach Hyman followed that up to make it 2-0, and then Draisaitl gets a slap pass from Bouchard 2 minutes later to make this 3-zip. That right there is the end of the night for Lucas Dostal. Hit the showers, pal. He's done for the day, and it is only a little over halfway through the first. But no lead is safe in this series because defense is still optional. However, tonight, Edmonton actually opted in for defending. Alex Killorn got one to make everyone's arseholes pucker up a tiny bit in Edmonton, but it's the Oilers' power play that steps up when it matters, and again, it starts with Bouchard. He walks the line here, and look at this subtle little stutter here at the blue line to convince the Duck forward that he's going to drop it to McDavid coming in with full speed. No. Bouchard is today's shady salesman. He gets him to bite and then feeds McDavid while in stride on his forehand. He goes to Draisaitl, and that is the game winner. When Edmonton needed their big boys, they stepped up most in this game. Draisaitl, McDavid, 2 points each. Bouchard had 3 points, and the most encouraging part of their game was both how well they defended and the play of Connor Ingram. He came in, only allowed 1 goal, and has helped Edmonton keep the season alive. This one is going back to Anaheim for Game 6. Now we go to Game 5 between the Habs and the Lightning. One guy back in the lineup for Montreal after the loss in Game 4 is Brendan Gallagher. The heart and soul vet of Montreal for the last decade or so has been scratched all throughout these playoffs, but Marty St. Louis calls an audible and puts him in. 3 minutes into the game, Newhook jumps on a turnover, rips one at the net, goes off the backboards. He gets his own rebound. He says, "I'm taking it to the blue paint," and once it gets messy, who's there to clean up the garbage? Brendan Gallagher. How can you not be romantic about hockey? He gets the party started and make it 1-0 Montreal, and it would remain that way going into the second. Then we see Tampa take full advantage of Montreal's aggression. Montreal's in their 2-1-2 forecheck here. They can't close off Tampa during the breakout as the F3 for the Habs swings into pressure, but the Lightning play it up the wall. Now, as the defender here, knowing you don't have that F3 support, you're taking a big risk at the blue line here, holding the line to try and stuff the exit attempt, because if you don't succeed, then you're caught with your pants down. Gonzalez, he does a good job on the wall at shielding this puck from pressure. He's got low support coming up the gut, little bump play. It's a 2-on-1, and James goes under the glove, no love, to tie this up. But then 11 seconds later, Montreal wants to push the pace right back with this set play off the center ice faceoff win. You'll see here Tampa's forecheck on the loss. It's basically a man-on-man coverage. You got the two wingers pressuring the Habs D. Tampa's D are closing in on Montreal's wingers, and it's center on center with Doc and Gonzalez. But watch Doc beat Gonzalez up the ice, and as that happens, Montreal is going to make a quick play to their winger where they tip it past the pressure of Tampa's D. Now Doc has space, and knowing he's got a forward defending him, he's going to use that caboose and mohawk to drive the net, goes to the blue paint, and gets rewarded. Kirby Doc, ladies and gentlemen, the Doc Ness monster makes it 2-1 Montreal right away. What a response. But then it is like the Habs had some sort of kink for giving up 2-on-1s in this game, because Matheson goes to step in, misses the entire barn with this shot, and then he's caught. So back the other way Tampa goes, and this time it is Gensel who rips it and gives Dobish a little reminder to close his damn legs. This is tied at 2 going into the third. Of course, these two teams are trying to take every piece they can off of each other when they have the opportunity. You got Kucherov with the lumber, wham, chopping down the tree. Welcome to the playoffs. The devil is in the details, and we see it again early in the third with the importance of line changes. Lane Hudson has been amazing in this series, and he's going to wait as both teams go for a change. But Montreal is sharper and quicker with their execution. So that opens up a beautiful stretch pass right up to Texier that catches Tampa exposed as they try and recover from their line change, but Tex-Mex rips it. Vasilevsky gloves it, but he's got a case of the floppy wrist. He gets a piece and it still goes in. There's been a lot of talk of Vasilevsky and his play, and this is one you just cannot let in. The Habs hold on to the 3-2 lead thanks to Jakub Dobish, who has been incredible. He is outplaying Vasilevsky right now. Just look at these numbers since the trade deadline. Dobish has been better in all statistical categories, and it's showing in this series. He stopped 38 of 40 in this game, and now Montreal is 1 win away from closing out the series at home. Then we go to Game 6 between Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. All the pressure is on Philly right now to make sure they get the job done on home ice. Crosby and the Penguins are playing a lot better than the first 3 games. One big reason why is the play of their goalie, Artur Shilovs. He came in Game 4, and he's been playing very well for the Penguins. But Josh Yeo, who's a Penguins beat writer, said that Coach Rick Tocchet made it a point in the morning skate that he wants shots from the point and players crashing the net and sniffing rebounds against Shilovs as they worked on tipping shots and deflections for most of the skate. Tocchet had Shilovs in Vancouver a few years back, so he's got the book on him just a tiny bit. But one thing was for certain, goaltending in this game was top-notch. Both Shilovs and Darth Vladar put on an absolute clinic in this one. Both teams honestly enforced their game too at times. You can see Philly was very much willing to put pucks on net with traffic. There was a lot of second chances, but Shilovs would come up big. The Penguins also had their fair share of extended zone time, and they outshot Philly, but the bend don't break strategy worked. Darth Vladar and the force was strong to remain perfect. This game goes into OT 0-0, and both teams had chances that'll give you a heart attack. First, Anthony Mantha, in all alone, tries to go 5-hole, but becomes Dakota Fanning. He fans on the shot. Vladar stops it. It's chaos, and they stay alive. Then, near the end of OT, Owen Tippett goes to drive the net. Puck squirts out to Porter Martone. The kid can end it, but look at this from Shilovs. He drops the stick, and the puck hits it. Are you kidding me? Professor X would like a word. This guy's stopping things with his mind right now, but that whole fiasco forces Pittsburgh to eventually ice the puck. So it's an O-zone draw for Philly. They snap it back. Michkov to Cam York, and it's a nice little sifter from the point. Goes post Malone and in. He celebrates by javelin throwing his stick. I'm talking there may be a Philly fan with a stick through his chest after this missile he throws, but they don't care. They're going to the next round. That is York's first goal since January. Turns out Rick Tocchet knew that one of those sifters would go in through traffic. Vladar celebrates. Philly is rocking. They're on to the second round to face Carolina. Now, as for Pittsburgh, it may very well be the last time in the NHL playoffs that we see these big three together. Malkin is at the end of his deal. Letang is nearly done, and Sid, the middle-aged man, well, who knows what's next for him. If this is the end of the Penguins' big three, what a run it has been. 3 Stanley Cups, almost 4,000 games and points, 1,300 plus goals, 3 Conn Smythes, and 3 Harts. 20 years together, it's the longest tenured trio in North American pro sports, but Father Time remains undefeated as the Penguins can finally pack their shit and head to Turks and Caicos as they are eliminated. Then finally, we have Game 5 between Vegas and Utah. This series is crack hockey. Back and forth seesaw action. It ended in Vegas's favor in Game 4, and now we get some more in Game 5. Kicking it off is Dan Marino's long-lost brother, John Marino, sneaks in the back door where there's a draft to make it 1-0 Utah. But get ready to hear this name again and again tonight. Pavel Dorofeyev, shocker, he's on the doorstep where he belongs. EA Sports, it's in the name for that guy. He ties it at 1 at the end of 1, and then things start to pick up in the second. Utah takes back the lead, only for Vegas to score twice in under 2 minutes to go up 3-2. Dorofeyev, by the way, got another one in that period as well. We then go to the third where Utah wants to get the legs going and use their speed to win battles. So they go with the high flip off the face-off win. They just chuck it up ice and say, let's make the speed take over. They win the 50-50 puck, get a 2-on-1, and I think Dylan Guenther may legitimately have one of the best releases in the show right now. He shoots the puck like he hates it, and it's a tied game. This is almost a carbon copy of Game 4 because Utah gets another fast break, and it's the Sopranos extra. Michael Carcone with a one-timer to give Utah the lead yet again. So it is desperation time in Vegas. They pull the goalie, and who's the hero? Pavel Dorofeyev on the doorstep yet again for his hat-trick goal. Utah just looks demoralized after that. Hats are raining down. They were 52 seconds away from taking a 3-2 series lead, but instead this goes to OT. Not just 1, by the way, 2. Yes, double OT where Utah has a power play and it's completely abysmal. They fumble it. Brett Howden on the kill, pickpockets Alex Kerfoot like it's his first time traveling in Europe, and then proceeds to go top bunk for the winner. Utah blows it, and Vegas' comeback gives them a 3-2 series lead. Now, overall thoughts on the series up until this point. The speed of Utah has given Vegas fits at times, but the experience and heaviness of Vegas's overall game is becoming more and more apparent as the series progresses. We're going to see what happens next, but Vegas has them on the ropes going back to Utah. So, who surprised you? Who pissed you off? Let us know in the comments down below. We're covering and breaking down every game of these NHL playoffs. We got them covered up until this point. So make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications on the channel so that you don't miss a single thing.